The economic relationship between the United States and China has been marked by escalating tensions, particularly concerning trade policies and financial strategies. The Trump administration has adopted a protectionist stance, aiming to bolster the American economy and safeguard domestic industries. This approach includes imposing substantial tariffs on Chinese imports, with proposals for a universal baseline tariff of 10 to 20% on all imports and up to 60% on Chinese goods. In response, China has implemented 3 major countermeasures, including export restrictions. In early January 2025, China's Ministry of Commerce proposed new export restrictions targeting technologies essential for producing battery components and processing critical minerals like lithium and gallium. These materials are vital for manufacturing electric vehicle batteries and semiconductors. The proposed measures aim to strengthen China's control over critical mineral processing, where it currently holds a dominant position, accounting for approximately 70% of global lithium refining capacity. China has been actively promoting the use of its own currency, the yuan, CNY, in cross-border transactions to reduce reliance on the US dollar. This initiative has led to a significant shift in the currency composition of China's international trade. In 2010, less than 1% of China's cross-border payments were settled in yuan, compared to approximately 83% in US dollars. By March 2023, the yuan's share surpassed that of the dollar for the first time, with over half, 52.9% of Chinese payments settled in yuan. By March 2024, this transition reflects China's strategic efforts to internationalize the yuan and enhance its financial autonomy. China has been gradually decreasing its holdings of US Treasury securities as part of its broader strategy to diversify foreign exchange reserves and reduce exposure to US dollar-denominated assets. Since the beginning of 2024, China has reduced its net US Treasury holdings by over $21 billion. This move is aligned with China's dollarization efforts and reflects concerns over the long-term sustainability of US debt. In this video, we will explore the recent trend of China selling off its US Treasury holdings and examine its impact on the US economy and policy. Additionally, we will discuss Japan's new policy involving the sale of its US Treasury holdings and its broader implications. China's holdings of US Treasury securities declined to $76.1 billion, marking the lowest level since February 2009. This reduction is part of a broader trend, with China's holdings decreasing by approximately 42% from a peak of $1.32 trillion in November 2013. This strategic reduction aligns with China's efforts to diversify its foreign exchange reserves and reduce reliance on US dollar assets. Analysts from AZ Research note that Chinese banks have cut their US dollar assets by 22% from their peak in 2021, reflecting a move towards increasing the use of the local currency in international trade to enhance monetary policy independence and better manage exchange rate volatility. China's holdings of US Treasury securities have experienced significant fluctuations over the past 2 decades, reflecting shifts in economic strategies, global market conditions, and geopolitical considerations. China's investment in US Treasuries began to rise notably in the early 2000s, reaching a peak of approximately $1,316 trillion in November 2013. This accumulation was driven by China's substantial trade surpluses with the United States, resulting in large reserves of US dollars, which were then invested in US government debt. However, since 2013, there has been a gradual reduction in these holdings. By October 2024, China's holdings had decreased to $76.1 billion, marking the lowest level since February 2009 and a 42% decline from the 2013 peak. China's reduction of US Treasury holdings is influenced by several strategic considerations: diversification of foreign exchange reserves, monetary policy independence, and concerns over US debt sustainability. China's foreign exchange reserves, the largest globally, totaled approximately $3.22 trillion in December 2024. Historically, a significant portion of these reserves has been held in US dollar-denominated assets. In 2014, about 58% of China's reserves were in US dollars, down from 79% in 2005. indicating a gradual diversification. This diversification strategy aims to mitigate risks associated with currency concentration and enhance the safety and profitability of China's investments. Reducing reliance on US dollar assets provides China with greater flexibility in its monetary policy. By diversifying its reserves, China can better manage its currency, the yuan, and maintain economic stability. This approach allows for more effective responses to domestic economic conditions without being overly influenced by US monetary policy decisions. Concerns over US debt sustainability have also been upheld. A strong alliance rising from the devastation caused by the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over the following decades, Japan became one of the largest foreign holders of US Treasury securities, typically second only to China. However, recent statistics reveal a significant decrease in Japan's US Treasury holdings, with a reduction exceeding 21% since 2020. Similarly, China, the second largest holder, has diminished its US Treasury assets by 44% since 2013. In the past 3 months alone, Japan has sold $61 billion US Treasuries, while China has cut its holdings by $51.3 billion. These numbers illustrate a growing trend of both nations offloading US debt. These substantial actions have serious consequences for the US economy and the global financial system. Reduced foreign investment in American debt raises concerns about the direction of US economic policies, possible changes in interest rates, and the continued dominance of the dollar as the world's main reserve currency. All of this is occurring in the context of Donald Trump's recent re-election. His foreign and economic policies have been historically unpredictable and centered on an America-first approach. These changes in the behavior of two major US creditors could strain their relationships with Washington, potentially altering the structure of the global economy. In this video, we will analyze these important developments, exploring their historical background, economic impacts, and the strategic landscape that might influence future interactions between the US, Japan, and China, as well as the wider international market. To start, let's look at the US-Japan relationship over time. For over 2 centuries, Japan followed a strict isolationist policy called Sakoku, which severely limited foreign access and prohibited Japanese citizens from traveling abroad. This policy was designed to maintain Japan's social order, restrict foreign influence, and ensure political stability under the Tokugawa shogunate. The turning point occurred in 1853, when Commodore Matthew C. Perry of the U.S. Navy entered Edo Bay, now Tokyo Bay, with a fleet of black ships, steam-powered vessels with advanced technology and weaponry compared to Japan's. Perry's mission, driven by American interests in expanding Pacific trade routes and securing coaling stations for whaling ships, put significant pressure on Japan to end its isolation. The subsequent Treaty of Kanagawa in 1854 effectively terminated Sakoku. This treaty opened 2 Japanese ports, Shimoda and Hakodate, to US ships and set a precedent for further Western demands and the negotiation of additional unequal treaties. These treaties granted extraterritorial rights to foreign nationals and imposed low fixed tariffs on Japanese goods, causing internal unrest. While some Japanese leaders found these forced openings humiliating, they ultimately acted as catalysts for Japan's modernization as the country looked to Western nations, including the US, for models of political, economic, and technological advancement. Let's take a quick pause. If you've enjoyed the video so far, could we ask a small favor? Hitting the like button helps us reach a broader audience, and sharing your thoughts or feedback in the comments makes an even bigger impact. Thank you for watching. Now, let's dive back in. In the fall of the Tokugawa shogunate in 1868 and the ensuing Meiji Restoration marked the beginning of a rapid period of modernization and westernization. The Japanese government sent representatives to learn from Europe and the United States, adopting Western-style industries, education systems, military organizations, and political institutions. American educational models, legal frameworks, and industrial practices significantly influenced the Meiji government's plans for a modern state. Over time, Japan strengthened its economy, built railways, modernized its army and navy with Western help, and adopted constitutional governance. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, US-Japan relations were relatively friendly. Japan respected America's territorial gains in Hawaii and the Philippines, while the United States recognized Japan's strategic interests in Korea. Although both nations pursued their own imperial goals, they generally maintained a balance of interests. Their cooperation was evident during World War I, when Japan joined the Allies against Germany, capturing German territories in the Pacific and providing naval support. This period laid the foundation for Japan's emergence as a significant regional power and for increasingly complex diplomatic and economic interactions with the United States. As the 20th century progressed, tensions increased. Japan's imperial expansion into Korea, Manchuria, and further into China and Southeast Asia clashed with American trade and security interests. In response to Japanese aggression, the United States imposed escalating economic sanctions, cutting off essential supplies.